Hello Year 3, welcome to week 4, term 5 of English. I'm going to be talking you through all of your lessons and your tasks this week in English. Okay, I hope you enjoyed reading and learning about the Lost Happy Ending story. We're going to move on now for the next 2 weeks and we're going to be looking at poetry. I know you all love poetry. We've had real good fun at school with it before, haven't we? Especially with the Poetry Slam and looking at the Poetry Pie book. Okay, so first of all, I want you to think about, what do you already know about poetry? Okay, so think about the Poetry Slam, think about the Poetry Pie, a collection of poems that we read together and we performed. What do you already know about poetry? Are there any words or any language that you specifically can associate with poetry? I'd like to have a little think, just for a couple of minutes. Pause the video and either jot down or just think about any language, any words, anything you know already about poetry or about writing or listening to or performing poetry. Just have a little think. Okay, so maybe you thought about the words verses. Do you know what a verse is? Okay, or maybe you thought about the words structure and form, the form of a poem or the structure of a poem. Maybe you thought about some different types of poetry, maybe haiku poems or limericks or poems with rhyming couplets. Okay, so we're going to be thinking about all of these different things over the next couple of weeks, different techniques that poets use, different forms that poems might be written in, and different ways to perform some poetry as well. You're going to be performing poems and you're going to have a go at writing some. Okay, so my next question for you is, do you have a favourite poem or poet? And if so, could you tell me about it? Okay, so just have a little think. Again, pause the video. Do you have a favourite poem? Maybe you have a book of poems at home and your favourite poems in that book. Maybe you could look it up online. Okay, maybe you don't really have a favourite, but there's just one that you know of, one that you can remember. See if you can just locate or find or think about your favourite poem and also perhaps your favourite poet. When you've done that, come back to this video. Okay, what would be really great is if you could send either a copy or a link. You could email the link to your favourite poem or just the title of your favourite poem, or it could be a copy of it, to your class teachers. If you could do that, then we will, on the Year 3 gallery, will create a kind of collection of Year 3's favourite poems. And that way you can all read each other's favourite poems. It'll be a really nice resource for you to use at home, to come on and, as we're learning about poetry over the next couple of weeks, to be able to read and learn new poems that your friends in Year 3 have recommended. Okay, so if it is possible, then email your class teacher a copy or a title of the poem that you like. And actually, your Year 3 teacher is going to be ringing you this week. So if you can't email them, you could always just tell them on the phone what your favourite poem is, and they can make sure that a copy of it is up in the gallery. That would be really nice. So I'm really looking forward to this. I now am going to show you the book, the collection of poetry that we are going to be exploring and looking at together over the next 2 weeks. Okay, now you may have heard this, you may have this book, you may never have heard of it. It is called Werewolf Club Rules, okay, by Joseph Coelho. Now this is a collection of poems that the poet here, Joseph Coelho, has written, okay, and he's put them all together in this book, Poetry Book for Children, for you to enjoy. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the poet. So Joseph Coelho, he was born in London, so he's an English poet. And he was born in Roehampton in London, and he grew up in a tower block in a flat with his mum and his sister. And he never in his wildest dreams thought that he would become a famous poet. He always dreamt of being a writer of some sort, but he never thought he'd make it as a poet. And he has made it, because he's won lots of awards for poetry, so Children Poet Awards, and obviously he has had his book published. Okay, and you can see up here he's the Clipper 2015 winner. Okay, so he's had lots of awards and he's a really good children's poet. So if you want to learn more about him or listen to him speaking a little bit, there's a website link on our Year 3 page, which is to his website, and it tells you all about him, and you can see photos of him, you can see what he's won, and you can read and hear lots of his poems. Okay, and we're going to start by doing that right now. We're going to listen to him read his poem, I Am a Writer. Okay, in the book, you can find the poem on page 54. Okay, so I'll just show it to you. There's a copy of the poem on the web page, so you can open up the sheet that shows you, that reads the poem. Okay, this is what it looks like in the book. I am a writer, and if you click on the link now that says, it says I am a writer as the title, I want you to click on that, pause this video, click on that, watch and listen to Joseph Coelho read his poem, I am a writer. And as you're listening, think about, because I'm going to ask you afterwards, which words do you like, which phrases do you like, so which collection of words, which lines stand out for you. Okay, so think about what it is you really like about the poem as you're listening, if you like it. I hope you do. I hope you enjoyed listening to that. So first of all, who can tell me about the structure or the form of this poem? Have a little look. This is how it's laid out. Okay, there's a copy of the poem on our webpage as well, titled I Am a Writer. These are called, who knows what these separated parts are called? They're called verses or stanzas. Okay, and how many lines are in each stanza or verse in this poem? There's 2, isn't there? So we can call them couplets. They're not rhyming couplets because the words on the end, they don't rhyme. But they're couplets in stanzas of 2, apart from the last one, which has got 4 lines in the stanza here. Now, have a little think. Were there any parts that you really liked? Any words that you really enjoyed hearing or you thought worked really well? One of my favourite parts, actually, is that I am the sweat of a rainbow because I refract all colours. I can just imagine the sweat of a rainbow being a rainbow kind of drizzle of liquid, and I never really thought about that before, what that would look like. So I really like that part. I also like the part that says I am the edge of a rubber, rounded, worn and softened by mistakes. I think a rubber rubs out your mistakes, but actually the edge of it becomes kind of rounded and warm by the mistakes because you have to rub them out. So I really like that part too. So just have a little think, maybe look back at the poem or listen to it again. Which verses or stanzas do you really like and why? Which words really interest you? Okay, that's one of our LOs today, that thinking about and discussing words that capture your interest. Okay, so if you can do that, that's great. Okay, now who can tell me, what is this poem about? What's going on in the poem? It's called I Am a Writer, isn't it? And some of the verses actually link to things that you might use when you are writing. A rubber, a pen, a sharpener. Then it goes on to talk about notes, notes that you would write. But also we've got the part about the rainbow. We've got the bit, I'm the holes in a flute, knower of unknown tunes. So again, we're thinking about music there, aren't we? And the skin of the drum as well. So it's a kind of a collection of maybe things that can be written or things that we can make something out of. And that's just my interpretation. You may have a different one. What your next task is, okay, you're going to be writing an extra stanza. So just 2 lines. You can write more than one if you want to, but we've got something else to do, so it's up to you. But just writing your own I am something and because. Now you could link it to writing. You don't have to, but you could. So I've got a couple of examples of things linked to things that I think I might use when I was writing something. But you don't have to link it to writing, but it might be easier if you did. So my examples are, I am the edge of a ruler because I create straight lines. And I am the pages in a dictionary because I make sure words look just right. Okay, so there's just a couple of things I thought of. You'll have your own ideas. Yes, if you want to use something that you use to write or associate with writing, it might be an idea. Or you can just do an I am something because. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at that task. I wish I could see or hear all of your ideas because I'm sure you've got some amazing ones. If you want to send a copy of your stanza to your teacher, I'm sure they'd love to see it. Okay, and our final task is all about our second LO, which is performing a poem. I can perform a poem, okay, and read it aloud. So you're going to be spending the next part of this lesson reading and performing the I Am a Writer poem. Now you can read it from the screen online, okay, and you can listen again to Joseph Coelho performing it, get some ideas, and just think about being really, really clear. So in year 3, when we're reading our work aloud or reading poetry aloud, we want to think about our expression. Okay, so we want to be expressive. We don't want to sound really dull and boring. We want to the tone of our voice to change, it to go up and down, us to kind of get loud and soft. Think about dynamics. Think about how loud or quiet your voice is. Think about the feeling and the emotion behind what you're saying, okay? And making sure you're really clear, okay? You're pronouncing the words really clearly, not kind of mumbling them, okay? So if I was to read that first verse, I might say something like, I am the clash and collide of the stars because I create worlds. Okay, so think about the speed, the tempo. Is it going to be read quite quickly and then you'll slow down, or how are you going to change it up? You don't have to read it all the same. Because there's quite a lot to think about. There's thinking about how loud and soft your voice is, the kind of emotion and the expression in your voice, clearly pronouncing words, and also the tempo, the speed at which you say things. So the rest of your time today is just to spend practicing reading this out loud. Maybe you could have, I don't know, a little bit of practice time, and then say to your family, whoever's at home, if they're not busy, could you come and listen to me perform this poem? You could do a little show for them, reading this poem out really nice and clearly for them. Again, if you want to film yourself or video and send that to your teacher, you can do. Okay, but just enjoy it. Really look at those words, explore the poem, and think about performing it really, really clearly. Okay, hope you've enjoyed today's lesson, and I will see you tomorrow.